Have you ever decided to make an art journal page? You grab your journal, you grab your supplies, you open up the book and the blank page stares back. You look at your supplies and you feel completely overwhelmed and don't know where to start? Yeah, me too. And that's exactly why I started a sidekick journal. Honestly, this thing has revolutionized my art journal practice. It is a form of art journaling that has completely no pressure attached to it at all. So let me tell you more about this and the benefits of having a sidekick journal. I have been art journaling now for probably about 20 years, and I have to say, with this journal, I have taken a very different approach to any other form of journaling I have done within that 20 years. So this is a journal that I made specifically for this purpose. It is my new sidekick journal, and I made it as soon as I heard about the concept, because as soon as I heard about the concept, I was very, very excited. If you would like to see me make this journal, I did do it in a previous video, which you can find in the description box below. But as I say, this has really changed everything. I have definitely been a person that whilst journaling, I have always approached it that I have started with a blank page. Sometimes the page maybe hasn't been 100% blank because I often mop up leftover paint or clean my stencils on journal pages. So sometimes I don't necessarily have to start from a complete blank white page. But in general, I start from a page and then I just work on the page until it is finished. Now, the concept of this journal is that you don't have to do that. It literally just sits on your desk and you just play in it when you feel like it. So this particular point, I had done some painting on another project. I still had the paints on my desk, and as you can see, I'm sitting finger painting. I think we lose that sort of simplistic joy. As children, we get paint out and we stick our fingers in it and we have a marvellous time making a complete and utter mess, and we feel very creative and very proud of what we have made. And there's something about just creating with no pressure. And I think this is the main advantage of having a sidekick journal. It is a no pressure form of journaling. You are not trying to create a completed work of art, a masterpiece. Quite often, because we all do it, I do it, I go online and I see all of these amazing journals because I'm looking for inspiration, and we see all these masterpieces and all this gorgeous, gorgeous work, and we can possibly feel a little bit intimidated. And this just takes the pressure away because we're not even intending to create a finished piece. The idea of it is that we just play on it as and when, and naturally finished pieces will start to occur. So all we're doing is we're like ripping paper, smearing paint, trying out our stencil. And this freedom of creating this way really just does unlock a part of our creativity that we didn't even know was locked. There's no boundaries to what we're doing. There's no constraints. We are just literally playing. And in doing that, we maybe discover things that we didn't know before, discover techniques, things that go together that we would have never have put together in a million years. So I think for expanding creativity, this is an amazing thing. I also think that being able to be creative without the pressure is a really mindful thing. So that's maybe the second benefit. This little bit here where I'm just working my way through the journal stamping, I actually had somewhere to be. I was leaving the house in 10 minutes. I was ready in plenty of time. And I just, that way when you're ready to go, and you're full of energy and I don't know, possibly, nervous energy about leaving the house and going to wherever it is you're going, and you're ready early and that energy is just building up inside. Now, I wouldn't normally sit there and think, all right, do you know what? I'm going to use these 10 minutes and I'll start an art journal page, because art journal pages for me can take hours to make. Whereas I just nipped down to my studio, literally sat there for 5 minutes, stamped all through my journals and did circles. And I just found it really therapeutic. That nervous energy dissipated and I was really mindful and calm when I left. So it's a really good mindfulness practice as well. Also, it's a great way of using little bits. I was in the process of making, in this particular bit here, I was in the process of making a journal using the Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton. And I'd ripped out all of these pages to make it a workable journal, and they were just sat on my desk, and some of them had these little doodles in. So I decided to, cut them up and stick them in. It was just, especially for me, I create with a purpose. I create for creating videos here in YouTube. I create for advertising my brand. So just being able to create without there being any thought behind it is just a real nice kind of calm down. And we've all got boxes of bits. I mean, I just can't throw anything away. I don't think any crafter can. We save the tiniest little scraps. So this is a great journal for this, because you're not having to sit there and think, what beautiful thing can I make out of this scrap? And just slap it down, and at some point it'll be something beautiful. Being able to randomly use these bits and pieces without having to think about what it's going to turn into. And this just helps to keep us creative. The other good thing is it's a really good and safe place to try out techniques. Quite often we can buy new products. I know for me, like any sort of colouring medium, I am a complete magpie. I want it all, and I want it in every colour. So whether it's texture pastes, or how does gesso react with a spray ink? How does, Copics mix with gouache? How do these products work together? Well, we can play in here because it doesn't really matter whether it turns out or not. And yes, I'm sharing this with you, but journals can be a private thing anyway. And I've always long said that we should view our journals as a place of play. And when we think about major, huge artists, I think I said this in the last video, but when we think of the likes of Da Vinci and Van Gogh and really big famous artists, they all had art journals and sketch pads, and I bet if you look through them, half of the drawings in there look terrible. And we went to a art gallery now, I'm trying to think who, it was a very famous artist, but they had one of his art journals, and honestly the work in it was absolutely shocking. But it's not, that's the thing, that's not what people see. That was their private place to practice, to develop, to grow, to learn new things. And the things that they learnt in their safe practice place, they then took and put into these beautiful paintings and works of art. And just because of where we are with this modern age, we're now thinking of this safe place to learn as being a place where we also have to produce this beautiful art. And so it is definitely, out of all the journals, I found this idea of just experimenting much easier to do in this journal, because I'm not kind of thinking, well, if I do this experiment, what am I going to put over it? What am I going to put with it? How am I going to make it work in an overall page? I'm not even bothered about that. I haven't used a gold pen and I don't know how long. I don't even know why I picked it up, to be honest. These have been sat in my stash for years and I still have some of them unopened, but I just started splattering it. I started doing scribbly writing. I was scribbling circles. I never would normally do that on an art journal page because I would be nervous about, oh my goodness, it's going to ruin it. And so it does completely take the pressure off. And so I think even though I have lots of journals and I have advocated for many, many years, as I said, I have been art journaling for 20 odd years, and I've advocated that this is a safe space to play and not to worry about all your pages being perfect, and that there should be ugly art. We all need to make ugly art in order to be able to grow. We don't learn unless we make ugly art, and especially now in this day of AI art and the fact that people can generate art so quickly. Does it put young people off learning? Why do we learn? Why do we put ourselves through the learning curve of making bad art if we can just generate it really quickly? Well, if we do that, we don't grow, we don't gain inspiration, we need human connectivity to art. Art is inherently human. It expresses emotions, it expresses feelings, it creates imagination, dreams, nightmares, all sorts. And so we need to be able to create bad art, but sometimes because of this marvelously curated world that we have, and it's true in lots of different aspects of life that we see the highlight reel and not necessarily everything that goes on behind it, that we maybe kind of forget, do you know what, we actually need to make bad art. And this is a really safe place to make that bad art and to learn. and to grow. And so that is another benefit of this journal, because as I said, even though I have advocated that for many, many years, this is probably the first time I have freely done that, and it not been in the back of my head that, oh, okay, and what am I going to do now? So it's like sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is bad, it's okay, it's not my best page, but I'm like, I was still a bit like, oh. And I still look through some journals now and think, should I change that page? Should I take it out? Should I cover it in gesso and start again? And, you know, I might very well do that with some of my other journals, because, you know, I might do a flip through and share it and I want it to look lovely. But there's no need for this. This is just a place to enjoy the freedom of actually creating. As I said, I've painted with my fingers. I'm now scribbling like a child. And this sort of reckless abandonment of just being in the creative flow, the creative process, is just so freeing. And I have to say that the other thing that I've really, really enjoyed about it is that I do create. Being a creative is my job. So sometimes when you sit down to make something, it takes a little bit of time to get into creative flow. You can't just like turn it on like a switch, like a light bulb. It takes a moment. It's a bit like when you make pancakes. The first couple turn out wrong, and then after that you make really nice pancakes. And there needs to be an element of warming up. I've always said that, like, I am obsessed by tennis. I love Wimbledon, so that's coming up very soon. But in any kind of form of sports, there's always a warm up first. They don't just start at the very beginning or the first point and that's where they start. No, they warm up, they knock a few balls back and forth. It takes a moment to get into the flow, to get into the match. And it's the same with being creative. It takes time to get into flow. And so if you are just sitting down and thinking, right, okay, I'm needing to make this card for so-and-so, I'm needing to make this project because I'm a design team member, I'm needing to make this project because it's going on TV, I am needing to create a journal page, this is going to be a video for people to see on YouTube, then yeah, we are having to produce good work for stuff like that, but it doesn't necessarily come as soon as you sit down to your desk. So this journal is a great place for that sort of warm up, because I used to often say that I'd start a journal page just by smooshing colours around, and that was my warm up. I never really knew what I was doing with the page, but I just sort of would put a bit of paint down and I'd maybe stencil a little bit, and I would let the page take me where it wanted to go. And that's still sort of probably the way I create. But that kind of warm up and getting into the feel and getting into the flow, that 5-10 minutes in this journal, just doing whatever, it can start to do that. And once you maybe start to feel that, yeah, I'm in creative flow now, I am feeling good, I'm enjoying the process of creativity, I'm just really feeling it, it's feeling really good, that can be a good place to start. So as you can see, there are just so many benefits to having a sidekick journal. So if you're maybe feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit overwhelmed, or just overthinking your journal pages in general, why not think about starting a sidekick journal? You know, you can make it messy, you can make it yours, and you can let it remind you why you started your creative practice in the first place. So here's a flip through as this journal stands at the moment. Quite like how this one's coming together, like that bit of text peeping through. So we have this, plus this was me kind of fixing some of the edges so they're a bit more even. I'm quite liking this one, not quite sure where it's going to go. Now this is funny, this shows how good this is, because I was actually at the stage where I thought this page was almost finished, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to add a little bit of shadowing and then that'll probably be this page done. Added the shadowing and now I hate it. But it was fine. There was no pressure of like, oh, now I have to try and fix this to finish my page. I was just like, oh, well, that hasn't worked, so it's not finished yet. And I'm sure I'll kind of keep adding to it as I continue to play with the journal. So it's definitely lifted that pressure, because I'm not worried at the fact that I feel like I've ruined it. It just means there's more playing to be done. This is quite cute. I'm not sure about this little guy sitting down here. Not sure that really works, but again, more playing required. I love this. That was just a random choice. You know, I'm scribbling around that, playing with a gold pen, which I haven't played for years, and now just mimic the shape over there. Quite like how that's gone. That is utter randomness. That needs turning into something as we gradually play. Enjoyed having a little bit of a play with brushes, not played with them in a while. And then I think as we start going through the second half, I love this. I love the colours and the layout. This has potential. Quite like how that just slides over onto the other page as well. She's Squint. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do about that. Yeah, so it's getting there. We've got a lot of blank pages here that will gradually get filled. But it's nice seeing the difference between how we started this video with the initial flip through and how it looks now just after a couple of weeks of playing. I like this extra tab. That's turned out quite good. Random images that normally wouldn't put together, but hey, they're there. This has got potential. And yeah, we're doing all right. A couple of plays. This is hideous. But I don't care because, you know, we're not finished yet. It's absolutely brilliant because it has completely taken the pressure off. This is going to lead extra work. Look, this is why I used up the whole of that washi tape, because it was needing used and it's lifting off. So there'll no doubt be some form of gel medium and playing to go on there to make sure it all sticks. But it's in there for just now. And yeah, so this is how the journal is looking so far. I will kind of continue playing with it. I will record myself as I do it, and then we will do another flip through in the next update. But if you have enjoyed this and you enjoy art journaling, you might want to check out this video right here.